Okay, time to get into layer masks. And masking and things like clipping masks are basically some of the foundations to Photoshop. So we'll be building on top of masks throughout the entire course, but we'll introduce them today and we'll kind of talk about the benefits of masks and what they can do. And I have some images provided for you, so if you can go ahead and open these up and just work alongside with me here, and this will basically get your weekly exercises done. So we have man in suit and backdrop up here. Let's go ahead and get those going. And so first, what we've been doing so far is if we wanted to cut him out and place him into this image here, what we've been doing is just more or less kind of a simple just selection and a copy and cut and paste here. So so very quickly, I'm just going to use the quick selection tool and let's just say, okay, so if this was him, then what we've been doing, again, I would just simply Command C and then come into my backdrop, and then I could Command V. I didn't get all of them there. And then Command T to transform, and I would, basically place him wherever. Now this works, and a lot of times that's sometimes all you really need to do, but this is where layer masks can come in and give us a lot more control. A layer mask is a non-destructive editing technique that will hide portions of the image. So whatever I have selected will be revealed, and whatever's not selected, it's not destroyed, it's still there. Photoshop is just hiding it. So again, remember, non-destructive editing. And this is helpful because this lets us have a lot more control and lets us edit things and bring things back. And it can be really nice for your workflow. So I'm gonna undo this and delete him there, and let's go back to this image here. So I'm gonna Command D to get rid of that. So the first thing with the layer mask is we have to get this image on top of this image here. So we can do this a couple of different ways, but I'll just show you. So let's go to backdrop here. You could just come up to File. We haven't done this yet, but Place Embedded, and then find the image wherever it is on your computer, man in suit here. We can just hit Place, and that'll just place the image right on top. Right? So I had unlocked my background layer previously, so I have both images here now. And let's just go ahead and hit OK. Now, before we can get a layer going, well, we need to do a couple of things first. So let's go ahead and get a selection of him. And you can use whatever you'd like. I'm going to just use the quick selection tool here, just because it seems to be working okay. Remember, you can hold Shift and Option or Alt for PC users to add or take away from your selection. So I'm gonna Shift, and let's just see if I can get, let's see how much of this I can get with the quick selection tool. So notice we have this negative space here. We can zoom in, and I'm still going to use the quick selection tool, although I could use the magic wand here, but I'm going to still keep the quick selection. I'm going to Option and click and get that space. Let's see, up by his head here, that's not, I'm going to hold Option. Little piece of his ear. Doesn't have to be perfect because we'll go into select and mask and work on this a little bit more too. So that looks pretty good. Zooming out. There's a little bit of space right here. I'll see if I can use the quick selection tool and maybe, minus, hold my Option. Okay. Okay, that looks pretty decent, pretty good. Now remember, we have our further options here. So we can go into select and mask. And the last time I showed you this, I started with the refine edge brush tool, but I'm not going to do that here. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to play around with some of these things here. So I'm going to turn on Smart Radius, and I'm going to get in close so I can get a better look at what's going on here. Right, so go ahead and adjust these sliders as you see fit. Now remember our different layers up here. We have onion skin and black and white. Those are the two that I use the most, but the other ones can be helpful too, just depending on what background you're on. and make sure your transparency is set so you can see some of the background but still have an idea of what you've selected. So this selection looks pretty good. Around here, his hand looks a little funny, his arm. So we'll try to see if these global refinements can help. You can see we're getting it's getting a bit blurry. But again, go through these sliders and make the adjustments until you're happy. Shift edge, if I go to the left, remember that's going to make my selection smaller. It's going to bring things in. And if I go to the right, that's going to expand. So that's too much. But it's okay if you have little things like this, because I'll show you once we get that layer mask going how we can clean some of this stuff up. But I just want to make sure I'm not getting any of the background in with him. So this looks pretty decent. And down at the bottom here, in the next video we'll go through some of these and I'll show you how this can be beneficial. But for right now, just make sure it says selection and then hit OK. And then this brings us back to the large image here. And we have our gentleman selected. And what we're going to do now is this little icon down here at the bottom. Looks like a little camera, add layer mask. Okay, let's go ahead and click on that. There's other ways to go about doing this too, but just for right now, we're going to click on that. And what's going to happen is everything that's not my selection is going to disappear, and I'll be left with just the man. Okay, like so. Now, all that information is still there. It's just hidden right now, and you can see right here I have this little black and white thumbnail. That tells me I have a layer mask going. And then I have my original image here. So something to be aware of is you can click back and forth between these two, and sometimes mistakes can happen if you think you're on the image versus the layer mask. So right now I'm going to click on the layer mask here. And really important thing to know about layer masks is you can use your paintbrush with black and white color to help refine and add to this layer mask here. So if it's in white, that means it's being revealed. I can see it. If it's in black, that means it's being hidden. Now, this can be beneficial here. If I come to my paintbrush, right now, they're not set to default, so you can always just hit D, and that sets your foreground color back to white and the background back to black. So right now, my paintbrush is set to white, and I'm on the layer mask. So if I paint with my paintbrush here, it's going to reveal the background that he was on. So I'm just going to click, and you can see I'm moving around and it's revealing the background. Let me go ahead and Command Z. I'm going to undo that. So again, white will reveal, and if I change this to black, this will erase from the layer mask. So if I move through him, that's going to erase him, right? Or whatever I had selected for the layer mask. So that's really handy to know, and it'll take some time to kind of grasp that and know when you can use this to your benefit to help with the selection. But let's undo that. And again, so if I make sure that you're on the layer mask, and then also too, if you click on the layer mask here, you can bring up some properties, and this can make further adjustments. So this is affecting the entire mask here. So the density right now is 100, so that means it's 100% hidden, what I don't have selected. So if I move this down, that's going to bring back some of that image. And then feathering is feathering around the selection that's there. You see it's opening up a bit and kind of revealing some of the background around him. So I'm going to set that back down. You can go right back into select and mask right here. Takes you to the same adjustments we were on. And invert, if I want to just flip what I have selected to be the background and not him, I can hit invert, and then we see that cuts him out and brings the background through. And then color range I went into a little bit last time, but that's not necessary for what we're doing right now. Okay. So we've got our guy selected, and we can Command T We can move him around. So let's go ahead and he's kind of leaning a little bit. So let's make this a bit more naturalistic and kind of shrinking him way down here. But let's shrink him down. And I don't know. Let's put him right here, I guess. That kind of looks okay. And, you know, we can come in now and there's further things that we can do. So when we're on our layer mask like this, there's a couple of shortcut keys that I want you to get a feel for. So if I hold Command and then click on this layer mask thumbnail, that's going to bring the selection right back, right? Command D. So again, so if I hold Command, you see that the little square pops up on the hand. If I click that, that brings the selection back. Now, a lot of times, if I want to make a particular adjustment, let's say I don't do that, right? Let's say, so I have my guy here, and let's say I need to make an adjustment to him. And if I come to adjustment, and let's just say I want to make him brighter, or, you know, give him some more exposure, notice right now, it's going to affect the entire image, right? The adjustment layer is affecting everything that's beneath it. So let's go ahead, I'm gonna delete that adjustment layer. And this is where bringing the selection back can be helpful. So I can, remember I hover over the thumbnail, I'll make sure I'm clicked on it, and then I can Command, click, that brings the selection back. And then now if I make an adjustment, and we've done this before, now whatever adjustment I make will only apply to him, right? So if the photo is rather dimly lit and I have a subject that's too bright, I can come in and make adjustments on just that, right? By bringing that selection back with the Command click on the layer thumbnail. So I'm going to delete that again. If I want to see this entire image in the black and white, what I can do is I can hold Option and then click on the thumbnail. Now that'll show me basically an enlarged version of what this is here. And this can be helpful if you have things, so sometimes, and then I'm going to Option click to take me out of that just to show you. Sometimes when you have the color image, it's hard to see exactly where your selection might be off. But I can already see there's a little bit around him, a small subtle halo right on the right side. And then remember, this arm looked a little bit funny here. So what I can do is I can Option and then click on that thumbnail. And then I can come in. Oops, sorry. And here I could come in with my brush tool. And remember, white will add and black will take away. So here it looks there's a little bit of fuzziness happening around here. So I'm on black right now, and I can clean some of this up. Right. Let me look around the rest of them. There's a little bit here. And then it looks like my original mask, my original layer mask kind of caught a little something here. We can see a little bit of that line right here. It's not really noticeable when I look at it like this, but again, if I Option click there, we can see that part of that has come through. So here with the paintbrush, I can just very easily make sure I'm on black, and I can just paint that right out. Like so. And then looks like there's a little bit of the selection that's kind of coming off of his arm there. Okay. And again, Option click on the layer mask thumbnail. I could come in here and kind of clean this up a little bit too. I'm not going to, but that looks okay. If you ever just want to get your just to see what the layer mask would look like if it's gone, you can Shift click, and that puts that little X through there, and that basically takes that layer mask away until I decide to bring it back. But it doesn't destroy it, so that's kind of a nice feature as well. And then this link right here basically means that the mask is locked onto place on top of that original image. But I could unlink that. And now if I just hit V to move, I can, if that's unlinked, now if I move him, it's moving that selection out of him on top of the masked hidden portion. So this can be really helpful and give you some cool effects that I'll show you later on, but just know that this is one way that you could go about doing it. Okay, so I'm gonna Command Z and undo that. So just given that right now, what we've gone over, let's take the time and let's get him into place. It actually doesn't look too bad right there. You may want to Command click on the thumbnail to bring that selection back, and if you might want to adjust, the environment that he's in is kind of really well lit on the left side, but he might need to go a little bit brighter. But let's make your adjustments accordingly, and once you get that all set up and he looks to be successfully integrated into the image, go ahead and save this and send this to me as a Photoshop file so I can kind of take a look and see it at your masks and at any of the adjustments that you've made. And we'll go on to the next one after that.